This is Mongolian Mindset, and today we're going to be doing an analysis of the late, great Kevin Samuels. If you want to be able to type yourself with higher accuracy and celebrities and whatnot, we highly recommend you guys pick up Linda Barrens material. She has the best metrics in the game. And also pick up Dario Nardi's material. I think this is the best book released in the MBTI sphere in the last 5 to 10 years. It will help you find your personality type and take your development to the next level. This is Dario Nardi's work. He is the student of Linda Barrens. He also does brain scans and whatnot with personality. Please check him out. And last but not least, John Beebe's work is more than 4 functions. MBTI has 4 functions, but there's actually 8 functions. That's the opposing personality in the 5th spot. The 6th spot is the critic spot. The 7th spot is the trickster, and the 8th spot is the demonic or angel function. So yeah. But let's get into this. Personality database, our sworn enemy has Kevin Samuels as a ENTJ. That's with TE in the 1st spot, NI in the 2nd spot, 3rd spot, SE, 4th spot, FI, 5th spot. The opposing would be TI. 6th spot would be NE. 7th spot would be SI, and 8th spot would be FE. Okay, so we're gonna see if they're right. We're gonna watch this interview, and we're gonna see if they're right. We have been compiling a list of all the celebrities you guys have suggested, and we will be tackling them one at a time. Been kind of busy lately, but we will get to that. And please comment below if you like the video or whatnot. If you disagree, let us know. And I'm going to be doing a full breakdown of Linda Barrens' metrics and David Keirsey's work as well, so you guys can be able to type people or follow along a little bit better. I'm not even gonna lie to you, it is quite challenging. There's a lot, but if you put in the work, you will be able to do the same thing I'm doing. So let's get into this.
Today, I have a person who has become a phenomenon, a force in the culture. He's taken over social media, taken over YouTube, telling the world a lot of things that they may or may not be ready to hear. Today, we have the one and only Kevin Samuels on the podcast. How you doing, Kevin?
I'm good.
Me and AD are such big fans that we got to at least give you a light applause. Maybe not a standing applause right now.
He's the GOAT, man.
Yeah.
Man.
This guy's one of the dudes who put me on to you, so I figured it was right that we have him on hand while we have this conversation. But it's truly an honor to get to speak to somebody who's making a splash in such a unique way.
Oh, appreciate it. Yeah, it's a splash. I will say that.
So give me a little bit of the history of Kevin Samuels and what you might have done through your life and how you actually ended up kind of arriving upon the format that has given you so much success of late.
So my background is like a lot of kids. Born to a single mother, father had many kids. Found out that academics was going to help me get scholarships and things at college. Went to college for engineering. Yeah, did the normal stuff.
Okay, so go back there because I want to say that's pragmatic
stuff. But I hated it. I quit my job in engineering, decided to start waiting tables at Papado. And from there, I fell backwards into a career in corporate sales. And if you've been around long enough, you remember with the telecom industry, the boom and the...
Okay, so I'm noticing right now that he's going through a progression. He's going from one step to the next in a order, whatnot. So this. He's not looking at the end product. End product would be outcome. So if somebody like this fast forwards to the end product, or they talk about the end product first, that would be outcome. But he seems to be going logically through a step-by-step sequence, and that would be called movement progression or process focus. So they would be process focus.
Bust.
Right.
Well, I cut my teeth in that environment. Lots of competition, lots of money, lots of exposure, but it all went away. When that industry fell away, I found myself in advertising and marketing, selling it.
See how he's going through that a lot? His progression. So that's 2 points for progression.
So I come from corporate sales.
Okay.
And the last little bit, I realized that I'm becoming older. I can make it up, but these companies fall apart, such and so forth. Decided to start my own boutique advertising agency. That worked moderately successful, but how I really got into this business was from the PR side of that boutique agency. One of our clients was about to leave and take about 40% of our company's revenue, which is going to hurt.
Oh, wow.
Hurt bad.
He's talking about the TE right there. That's TE.
and she was sitting there saying, hey, I'm going to be put before the governor for an emergency appointment to a judge. But here's the thing, I don't know how to dress for that. And I'm sitting there thinking about all the money we're about to lose because she's going away. She's like, but you always dress so nice. Is that something you can help me with? Because I was doing her PR. I'm like, well, yes. And I went shopping with her to help her get ready for this thing. And I went and looked up. I was like, what is it that...
Okay, so he's saying a lot of I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this. So that's SI generally. Okay, so he's coming from a first-person perspective. Okay, he's not talking about what everybody else is doing and going inward. He's talking from his own personal experience. So from a first-person perspective, so that seems like a lot of SI there. We're going to put just 1 point for SI, but he seemed like a progression SI user.
People get dressed for such and so forth. It's an image consultant. That's how I found myself being interested in image consulting, but it kind of goes in what I've done in my life. I've always had a sense of style, a sense of flair. So I got into the business.
You hear that? I.
Helping men and women. And what really brought me here is when I started focusing on my guy clients, they were coming in saying, hey, look, man, I came into you to get a better outcome personally or professionally. But on the personal side, man, I'm looking good. I'm smelling good. I'm moving up the corporate ladder. I'm moving up. My business is expanding.
So he's talking about progression yet again. So, yeah, good progression focus.
I want to have a wife, a kid, a family, whatever. And I'm not finding any women out here who are kind of at my level or my new level. And then I'm hearing women say they can't find men over here. So what I'm really having is a conversation that my guys have and my women have. And I spent the first 3 years talking to men, but that didn't really catch on. But when I started talking to women about the kind of men they say they want, I asked one question. What do those men want from women?
Talking about what people want, that's NE. What other people want, that's NE. So we're going to put NESI. We got 2 points for that already.
Really kind of kicked this whole thing off. And, the pandemic helped a lot, too, because everybody's sitting at home.
Right.
So that's the conversation that's been happening since this summer. But honestly, man, I've been involved in relationship conversations since 1989, Shahrazad Ali college campus. I've always been in the mix with
I've done this. SI, first person perspective.
But that's what's taken off here. So, and that's what kind of led to this new burst of popularity. Just having the same conversation that we have in the basketball court, the barbershop, golf course, and I'm telling women what men really wish they could say, but they can't say this stuff in the corporate environment. I've been there.
Right.
You'll get canceled. You'll get me too. You'll get hostile working.
You talking about consequences there? That's NE. Okay, so we're almost ready to call SINE in progression. And I'm already looking at him. Does he seem direct or informative? We're gonna keep looking at it.
Environmented. And so many women are not understanding what the disconnect is.
Okay, well, other people aren't understanding. That's TI.
So what I'm saying is, I'm like, well, the kind of men you want are these guys. And
talking about what other people want. That's SENI as well. Talking about what other people want. Like SE users will talk about what they want. We'll talk about that. Like, this is what I want, or this is what most men. He's caring about what other people want. So he's an SINE user.
From women, and are you willing to do that? Or if not, at least now you know why the disconnect is. So that's about as simple as I can put it.
Disconnect.
Interesting. Yeah, because that's one thing that I ended up saying to one of my employees over there. I was like, I like Kevin Samuels because he just gets crispy every day. I don't really feel like I have that much of an incentive to present myself in that way. But, certainly for you to garner the respect of these random people who are calling in and stuff, it very much helps to accentuate your brand. And you're talking about that like you've always sort of had a bit of understanding of sort of dressing for what you want to accomplish, right?
Well, coming from corporate sales, the first thing they buy is you. So when you come through the door, and I'm talking about a multi-million-dollar deal or even several thousands of dollars, your image does play a part in it. And I spent a lot of time, money, and investment in getting coaching. I did the same things.
See, he's coming from a first-person perspective, and he's going
that I tell people to do, because there's a difference between, let's just say, insurance. Somebody works at a local State Farm, Farmers, or Allstate. There's going to be.
So he's getting abstract here. That's hypothetical. Let's say State Farm is getting hypothetical.
Somebody up here that's making 500, 300,000, and somebody making 30 or 50. They're selling the same products to the same market. What's the difference? Network and appearance. So I've always known that your image can help get you in the door.
So he's talking about being effective here. That's pragmatic.
What you do once you're in the door is the difference. So that's why I stress the points of image. And before I get to the images,
he's kind of always been the same. So we're gonna put systematic as well. He always dresses the same. I mean, pretty much. He's always cares about his image. So it's from a systematic point of view.
4 parts: appearance, behavior, communication, digital footprint. A, B, C, D. The appearance part just gets you a herd. But how you behave, how you communicate, and then how you look online really kind of solidifies all that stuff.
So he's talking about a system there as well. So another point for systematic.
And that all comes into fruition on the show because there are people who come in like, I don't like this guy, I don't like nothing he has to say, what does he talk about? But then when they sit down and if they actually listen to me, it makes more sense more often than not.
Right.
I actually listen to me, that's T.I.
Had more than a few people that I know try to like take issue with you, but we keep having conversations. The more and more stuff that we watch, that I'm like, listen, I can understand how you could say that Kevin is disrespectful. I can understand how you maybe think that he's prioritizing things. He's prioritizing materialism or money or youth, etc. I can understand that you might take issue with some of those things. But I can't say that I've ever heard him give bad advice. There's never been a time where I've been watching you speak to a woman and thought, he's giving her horrible advice. He's completely misleading her. You might be a little rough with your delivery at times, but it seems like you really are kind of giving people advice that they need, to be honest.
Well, and what's happened as of late, I have a private Facebook group that I talk about. And in this group...
Okay, so he's initiating here. He just initiated that. Okay? It's more for initiating.
Less than 6 months, and I pretty much handpicked the people that come in. Men over here, women over here.
All right, you're talking about a system there as well. I handpicked them, men over here, women over there, system.
And in 8 months, and going on about 7 months, there have been 8 couples that have gotten together, and 3 engagements. So even on YouTube, a young lady just posted a video last week. Kevin Samuels' advice is the reason I got engaged, and she got engaged in Aruba. So it's hard for people, it's becoming harder and harder for people to say, your tone, you're this, you're that, when you're producing results. And
so he's talking about producing results, he's talking about being effective, that's pragmatic. Okay, he's talking about being effective. Affiliative people talk about doing what's right. Kevin Samuels is talking about basically, I'm effective here, okay? Do what works. He's pragmatic. But we just put down 2 points for pragmatic. So what we have noticed so far that he's an SINE user. What he does is he talks from a first person perspective. He also talks about any consequences, and he also talks about what other people want. So that eliminates all of the SE users. Kevin Samuels is not an SE user, so he can't be an ENTJ. ENTJs are SE users. So only types he could be right now is ESTJ, okay, ESFJ, ENTP, ENFP, ISTJ, ISFJ, INTP, and INFP. So we already eliminated 8 types because he's a SINE user, okay? And from there, we're noticing that he seems to be progression, and if that is the case, we'll be eliminating ISFJ, INTP, INFP, and ESTJ. And we'll be looking at an ESFJ, ENTP, ENFP, or ISTJ. And that's in the next progression point. And he said a lot of progression, but I just missed it because I was looking at other things.
I'm like, well, Simon Cowell on American Idol was allowed to become a multi-millionaire. And he is the reason the show was as successful as it was.
And we wouldn't be talking about him if he wasn't abrasive with his commentary.
He's talking about how other people are effective. He name dropped Simon, so that'd be TE.
Howard Stern was the pioneer of the shock jock kind of thing.
Howard Stern, so.
And even to a lesser degree, Gordon Ramsay. And I ask people, is it my tone or is it the fact that I'm right? And my tone just gives you a reason to not like it. Because 2 + 2 is 4 no matter who's saying it.
2 + 2 is 4 no matter who's saying it, T.I.
We need more of that in today, where you can be a man and you can build all this and be successful for you, your family, and somebody can go back and say, hey man, something you did when you was freshman in college really made me feel uncomfortable. Give me half your shit. No, thank you.
Right.
No, thank you.
The world has certainly changed a lot in that regard, yeah.
Yeah, so bring a little bit more of that back, and not just, and here's the thing, it's not just harsh or direct for mean's sake. I reflect what I get from people. So people who watch my show recognize that I just mirror back. And there are times when I'm sitting there talking to somebody who may come in as a real advocate. Next thing you know, she's in tears going back to her husband. But people
so that's progression there as well. You went through a progression there. Let's go back, check it out. Do a progression. And reflecting, I kind of want to say that's an NE statement because it's talking about being like water. And any users like to use that a lot. If you go back and check it, Bruce Lee talks about it, be like water, be like any. SE is more like fire.
The world has certainly changed a lot in that regard, yeah.
Yeah, so bring a little bit more of that back, and not just, and here's the thing, it's not just harsh or direct for mean's sake. I reflect what I get from people.
That's an NE statement, I reflect. I'm not going to say that's NE, but we already got him as SINE.
People who watch my show recognize that I just mirror back. And there are times when I'm sitting there talking to somebody who may come in as a real advocate. Next thing you know, she's in tears going back to her husband. But people like to focus on the things that make their argument stick. And really, it's about staying comfortable. But I'm like, cool, be comfortable. But just be comfortable with your outcomes. Don't complain about them.
Right.
You're making a C? I'm good with C's. But don't want A outcomes,
right?
Because we should have equality of opportunity, but not equality of outcomes.
Definitely.
So you're talking about equality of opportunity and not of outcome. It's pragmatic.
One thing that we keep coming back to from watching these conversations,
and the reason why that's pragmatic, because he's just talking about being effective. He's literally talking about being effective, and he doesn't care about inclusions, none of that. Like, okay, does it work? Does it not work?
People, as it seems like a lot of the women in particular that I see you talking to, they just sort of have like a contrived image of what their life is supposed to be like. And I wonder where you think that comes from, because when you have a woman, and this happens over and over and over on your show, they're 35, maybe they haven't had a couple kids, they haven't been in a successful relationship, whatever, and then you end up asking them, how much money does a guy need to make to be with you? And they say $250,000 in a year, and you're kind of like, this is a very unrealistic world that you seem to be living, and that's a lot of fucking money. And what are you really bringing to the table that would, like, maybe you fall in love with this guy and you get lucky, sure, but it doesn't seem exceedingly likely if you're not bringing anything to the table, right?
Well, what I think, and this is where we start to have a multi-track conversation. One thing we all universally, Disney is always the prince, the girl comes from nothing, the prince finds her in the village, and
it's progression there, okay? So he's doing the step by step. So if he's progression, he can't be ESTJ, it can't be a ISFJ, it can't be an INTP, it can't be INFP. And the reason why is because ESTJ, ISFJs, INTPs, INFPs, they look at the end product of things, and they don't talk about the step by step much of the time. And that's what Kevin Samuels is talking about a lot. He's progression like crazy. So we're down to ESFJ, ENTP, ENFP, and ISTJ. One more tick for pragmatic, and he's an ENTP. Because ESFJs, ISTJs, and ENFPs are affiliative. Okay, so one more tick for pragmatic, and he's an ENTP.
He picks her up, and they move out from being. It's Coming to America. The Eddie Murphy movie in the '80s. This Western culture, to where we have to have the cathartic ending. I mean, if you're a Star Wars fan or bona fide Star Wars fan, Star Wars was supposed to end with Luke turning evil. He wasn't supposed to go good. True. Well, we needed to be happy so we could sell merchandise.
We needed to be happy, so he's talking. Well, we needed to be happy. We needed to be happy. So that was an FE statement, so that's a TIFE statement. We needed to be happy. And that was pretty abstract too. But yeah.
Something happened There was a woman by the name of Sue Ellen Browder who used to write for Cosmopolitan back in the 70s.
That's a TE statement. Name
and
dropping.
80s. And she wrote a book called Subverted. And she admitted that in the 60s and 70s, Cosmopolitan, which was Playboy for women at the time, they openly lied to women, selling them this Sex in the City lifestyle. And I did a podcast on how, feminism and that kind of stuff was so supposed to be about one thing: women having choice. If you want to be a housewife, that's your choice. If you want to be a corporate woman, that's your choice. And I think everybody can get on board with that. But when we've told women in particular, you can have it all. You can have everything. You can bring home the bacon fried up in pan, never let you forget you were a man, I'm a woman.
Okay, so that's another progression there. And that seems like some any.
Angeli, that's the 1970s, and that kept going on and on and on. But we as men, we know that ain't right. You step to Hottie over at the bar, and you find out real quick where you rank.
Bars.
Talking about where you rank, that's TE.
Real quick. So men get a dose of reality often, and then when we took away competition, when we start putting all these participation trophies, you get,
So he's talking through the progression of things, how things have sequenced through, so it shows progression.
You get a trophy at the spelling bee just because you showed up. Well, it has an effect upon people.
Talking about the effect, the consequences, any.
Particular upon women, because women by nature want to consolidate on the highest value man possible. It's in their nature. But now you completely deregulated the sexual marketplace.
They completely dysregulated the sexual marketplace. So that's 5 points for systematic. So we're only down to ENTP and ISTJ. ENFP is eliminated. ESFJ is eliminated. So we're down to ENTP and ISTJ. It's looking like Kevin Samuels is informative. I can just tell he's informative, and that's the reason, because his words are not specific, concise, and to the point. It's kind of vague, beating around the bush. He's giving you a whole bunch of stuff, very descriptive, very wordy in his language. So that would be indicative of being informative. So I'm pretty sure he's informative. So I can go ahead and end it right here and go ahead and call him a ENTP. But I also want to see if we're going to get another pragmatic statement from him. Get another pragmatic statement, and it's done. So we'll drop, everything we saw here.
No rules. And now you have social media and all these dating apps.
So like I said earlier, he was going through the sequence of things, the progression.
Now, if you're a man in the top 10, top 20%, you have almost 100% of women wanting men who can produce this outcome, which is massively unrealistic.
So even though he's saying outcome, he's not just talking about the end product. He's going through a logistic way of how he got there or how he arrived there. That's progression. Even though he's saying the word outcome, okay? Just so y'all follow.
You want a man that's making at least 6 figures.
He's talking about what other people want. Again, any.
That's only 10% of the population. 14%.
10% of the population. That's TE.
And coming from Oklahoma, the Bible Belt, factory worker family, military family, I'm like, yeah, I fit in this category, but I also take exception.
I fit in this category, TE.
Until you look at it, my brothers and saying, hey.
I take effect to that you looked at my brothers, that's FE.
These guys aren't good because they're average, but then you get upset when I call you average.
It's true. Yeah, we'll always have that.
So that's pragmatic. We're done. He's an ENTP. So what you really guys gotta understand is he said a lot of TE statements, and the thing about ENTPs is that they have TE critic, and the sixth function can be just as strong as the second function. Go look it up, Socionics. The sixth function is quite powerful, and you will see it a lot. That's why you'll see people mistype ESFPs because they have FE critic, or ENFPs as ENFJs because they have FE critic. The sixth function is quite strong, and you will see it a lot. It'll come out and say hi quite a bit, especially with people who are very developed. So that's why we're seeing a lot of TE, but we weren't seeing a lot of FI attached to it. Did you, like, if you seen it, it wasn't FI with it. It was just pure TE, pure stats, pure numbers, whatnot. Name drop, just TE stuff. But yeah, so Kevin Samuels is an ENTP, and what we noticed very early is that he was an SINE user. He talked from a first-person perspective. He talked about any consequences, talked about what people want. He talked about reflecting, essentially being like water. That's also any statements. So that eliminated 8 types and left us with just 8 left. And what we noticed from there was his progression. So he's looking at how things sequence. He's just not looking at the end product. Outcome people look at the end product and they talk about the end product. But progression people or process or movement, they will talk about how they got to the end product or how things moved. And that's what Kevin Samuels does a lot. So his progression as well. And we noticed very early on that he was very pragmatic. That means he's talking about doing what's effective and what works. Pragmatic people tend to be rebellious, contrarians. They will do something and then ask for forgiveness. As in the field of people are interdependent. They talk about inclusions, the group, doing what's right. So he's not talking like that. He's just talking about purely what's effective. Okay, this works, it don't work. I'm doing this because it works. So Kevin Samuels is also pragmatic. And he's very systematic. He talks about systems, structures, that type of stuff. He will break down systems like it's no business. What I've noticed about ENTPs is that they may not come off super systematic like a INTJ or ENTJ, but they will complain about a system like you have never seen. Or when they approach something, they will approach it from a systematic point of view. But if you ask them personally, they won't say they're systematic. But so that's another thing. And let's see, he's initiating, so he'd be extroverted. And what do we got? We got SINE, progress, pragmatic, systematic, initiating, and he's a TIFE user. Okay, he has his own internal logical framework that comes first. Like that's his first thing. Like he wants to make things are logical to him. That's a TI user. And he also has FE. He sprinkled in FE a few times in there where he was talking. Well, I took offense to it because they were hurting my brothers or whatnot. So that's an FE approach. He's not talking about himself. That'd be FI. So with that, Kevin Samuels, the late great Kevin Samuels, who took the internet by storm, is an ENTP. And Personality Database got this wrong. They got him as a ENTJ. That's wrong. Okay. He's very informative. So also he was informative. I missed that. He's informative in his speech. That means he gives extra information. He's very descriptive, very wordy. He's not specific, concise, and to the point. He ain't just getting words straight out. His words, he's trying to like taking a more of a passive role. He's giving it extra information. He may get angry from time to time, but he's very wordy and descriptive. He's not just like do this, do that, do that. But he probably doesn't like to tell people what to do per se. As in like very direct types like the ESTJs, ENTJs love telling people what to do. The responding types not as much, like the ISTJ, INTJ, INFJ, not as much, but generally speaking they do like to tell people what to do. But we're gonna be dropping a video on how to type people in the future, breaking down Linda Barrens material, David Keirsey's material as well. That'll be coming in the future, and we will be working on the celebrities you guys want us to type. It's just we put out one video a day, so that's going to take us quite a bit because we've got a lot of requests. And if you want to be typed by us, we have a Facebook group. All you have to do is join our Facebook group. It's on our channel page, and I have it in the comments or whatever. On the details or whatever, just join our Facebook group and message our moderator Thomas Began and send him your availability, and we will get you typed. I'm going to be dropping some of our free typing sessions that we're doing for a limited time, so you guys can see how we do it. But this is Mongolian Mindset, and you guys have a great day.